Hey friends, we're back. Your favorite podcast of the week. It's Location Weekly. It's episode number 612, and we are recording on March the 21st. Yes, it is officially spring. The equinox has happened, and yeah, warmer weather is around the corner. How are you, Abriana?
I'm good. I'm excited about spring for sure. I'm ready for some warmer weather and it is supposed to warm up a little bit today. So super excited about that. And yeah, like finally have, a trip on the books for spring break. So look, something to look forward to and just get outside and do more of that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Not bad. Yeah, I had a bit of a cold over the weekend, so just kind of my voice is slowly coming back, but it's still kind of a bit rough. But yeah, otherwise great. Lots going on. Just too much to do. We're in the midst of planning Retail Loco right now, our biggest Retail Loco ever, which will be June 13th and 14th at the Mall of America. So just a lot of things to put together around that. So we're looking for speakers and sponsors and all the usual stuff. So yeah, if you're listening and you're interested, reach out to either of us and we'll get you hooked up on that.
Yeah, I was just talking about this event coming up because my parents just got back from Minneapolis and they were saying how amazing Mall of America is and that I think it was Disney World attracts like 52 million annually and Mall of America attracts 40 million people annually. So like almost on par with a huge amusement
Yeah.
park. And so I think it's going to be an awesome location for that event. Very exciting.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And there's just so much going on in the area too, like, in terms of retail and business and
Yeah.
sports and other things, right? So it's a good market. All right, well, let's jump into our four stories for this week. I'll let you kick us off as usual.
Okay, well, let's start over in Berlin, Germany, where Überall has a new AI innovation that they are launching. And, if you don't know Überall, they're a digital marketing platform. And so now they are, like many others, taking AI and ChatGPT innovations, and they're helping these location-based businesses unlock new revenue opportunities. So what does that mean? Well, they're integrating this across what they have, the Uberall Core X platform. And that includes like messages, reviews, local inventory solutions, all these things. So they plan to support responding to customers' inquiries across hundreds or even thousands of business profiles and social channels across the web. So, I think that like we've seen these AI chats that are growing with popularity, and how we as customers like want to engage with a brand. And apparently 75% of consumers say that they prefer to engage with brands via chat. So instead of like the traditional channels, maybe picking up the phone and calling. However, on the flip side of that is 72 businesses are not actively managing chat on their local Google business profile. So in comes Overall with a solution, right, to kind of help solve this. So it's a digital revenue assistant with Chat GPT. So they're really uncovering like these opportunities to grow the bottom line while they're looking at, customer interactions, whether that's like Google Chat, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, their corporate sites, local web pages, whatever it may be. Some of the use cases they mentioned were like providing local inventory recommendations, assisting with reservations and booking, offering some of this like promotions and discounts, all of those good things. So what I think is that this is like really just the beginning of Chat GPT that we're going to see. This is going to become kind of mainstream very quickly this year. I was just speaking with a friend who's CEO of a mid-sized tech company, and they're incorporating this with all of their tech support channels, as like a tier one kind of mechanism to help really streamline this. So you've got all of these incoming requests and questions, and a lot of them tend to be the same, FAQs over and over again. So, spending a couple of months kind of training up these responses with ChatGPT and helping kind of facilitate and streamline this so that you have maybe instead of three tech support people that are handling hundreds, now you've got like one handling hundreds because there's that first line of defense, and now you can scale a little bit better. So I feel like this is really good. I think this is great that they're doing this through all the local channels as well as all of the various like messaging platforms that they're offering. So I feel like this is a really great value add, and we're going to hear a lot more stories similar to this. You're on mute.
I was coughing, so I muted. I think this is a good addition to the Überall product mix there. And I think obviously everybody's talking about ChatGPT right now and the power of what's there. But I think they're right. Like I think for a lot of businesses that have chat available in their websites or things like that, they're you have to have a staff to manage that and answer, or if you have live chat or all these kinds of things. So, but if you can automate that and you can have it be the AI engine that's responding, and natural language processing and all these things kind of coming together. And then you can derive, leads or opportunities from that, from a, revenue prospecting perspective. I think this is a good thing, right? So there's so many use cases for this technology, right? I mean, I know kids are out there using it to write white papers and books and, all kinds of things right now. But I think when it comes to businesses and be it small or medium businesses like this, or just being able to facilitate better customer service and communications, and make it appear to be more personal, and ultimately that when you can connect with people, we know that the more you connect, the more revenue you can derive, right? So I think there's a nice sort of line here that can be drawn in what Überall is offering to the service. So I like it. Okay, on to our second story now. So here's an interesting one. So I don't know how many people we've been around now for what, 12 years, the LBMA, more than 12 years now. And in the early days, back when we started, around the exact same time we started the LBMA, there was a company born that year called Gowalla. And I don't know how many people who are listening now remember Gowalla, and Josh Williams, the CEO and founder of Gowalla. But at that time, you had Gowalla and Foursquare, kind of these two big sort of location check-in social networks. And it was like this battle between the two of them of who was going to emerge as the next big thing. Ultimately, Gowalla ended up selling out to Facebook in 2011, and Foursquare carried on to grow to where they are today. And it was interesting because I, at that time, used both platforms. I was a fan of Gowalla. I think the Gowalla user base was, a true fan, I would say. Like people were really, really enthusiastic about the platform, really engaged with the platform more so than Foursquare or others. And I think when they sold to Facebook, there was a lot of people crying out about where's my data going to go now, and Facebook have my data and all this kind of stuff. And so there were there's some issues, but anyway, all of that to say that Mr. Williams is back, and he is at South by Southwest, and Gowalla has been reborn. And in a recent interview with him, he said that he thinks that the timing now is better, and just the sheer number of mobile users that we have today versus what was there in 2009, devices, and this sort of the growth or of things like Instagram and TikTok and these types of platforms are sort of much more akin to where Gowalla was trying to go. So so it's still very much the same in terms of how it operated in the early days. There's a map that's the interface. You check in and share your location with your network of trusted contacts. You can see the locations of where others in your friends list have also checked in. There's landmarks, and and one of the big things of the early Gowalla was photos that people could post tied to those places, and like rich content in that sense. And you can have conversations in the app. So in a lot of ways, it's very much like a sort of TikTok or Instagram type of thing, but focused more on sort of these imagery and collecting stamps and visiting different places and curated experiences and tasks to complete. So think of it as a little bit Pokemon Go and a little bit Instagram, sort of all coming together. That's how I like to describe it. So, and the other thing that I think is really interesting in the interview I was reading with him. He was saying that the advent of ChatGPT, which we were just talking about, I think he says, will play into what they're doing. And the way he envisions it is that as ChatGPT sort of grows and becomes, something really big, that we see it happening right now, is there will be a need to distinguish between real people and virtual people. And so where is the true authentic experience going to come from, right? He sees Gowalla as a big part of that, sort of the real, let's call it, aspect of that, and kind of distinguishing between the two. So who knows where this is going to go? I do agree with him in the general sentiment that the timing is better now than it was in 2009 for a platform like Gowalla. I'm certainly going to give it a go again. I liked it back then, and we'll see where it is now. But I kind of wish our friend Rob Woodbridge was on the show, because he was a big user at the time as well, and I know we had lots of conversations in the early days of the podcast about that. So maybe we'll get him on soon, and he poke his mind about that. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's like a little too early to tell. I do agree that yes, the timing in terms of like mobile users that are more engaged in social apps is definitely, there's more opportunity there. Going back to like the same value proposition before is risky, right? Like, is it that the idea just didn't take off, in terms of like that it stayed Gowalla from the beginning? Or is it just that now's a better time for it? I don't know. I feel like it's still a little too early to tell, but I do find it very interesting, his thoughts around being, identifying between like real people and virtual people. And, we think about doing that a lot of times with, like advertising or just, fraud prevention, right? So like identity is a big thing, but we don't really think about it so much within social. And so I do think that that's very interesting, kind of like forecast there. So I don't know, I'm excited to like see how this goes, and maybe I'll check it out as well.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna reach out to Josh too and see if he's, maybe we can get him on the show and come get him to talk about it directly, because I am super interested in where he sees this going, and he's got such an interesting mind as well. So I'd love to hear from him firsthand. So let's
do it. Well, I feel like ChatGPT is like a theme that is weaving through all of our stories almost this week, but we have a fundraising sort of announcement / stories, and SOCi out of San Diego, and they are a marketing platform for multi-location brands again, and they have raised $120 million. The core focus of this is really to invest in a line of these AI marketing products, and also to expand into new markets. They led this round, JMI Equity led the round. You had Vertical Venture Partners, Blossom Street Ventures, Renew Group Private Limited, which is also the owner of 5 Hour Energy International and some other products. So they're really, thinking about using this investment through a new line, which they're calling Genius Products. Catchy marketing there. So the AI and ML models really are going to help transform its software from just like a basic platform to really this marketing partner that has, highly intelligent, intuitive, impactful marketing decisions, so that it can automate some of the time-consuming tasks and do that at scale. So they recently first launched the first Genius product, which is using ChatGPT's natural language model to enable instant intelligent responses to online reviews. So kind of similar to the first story we talked about, right? Like it having that response, it's trained, and it can scale something that maybe is a little bit of a tedious task for humans to be doing. They're also going to be using that funding to expand into new markets. One they mentioned is manufactured goods. So important to keep in mind that SOCi right now, the platform is used by more than 700 multi-location and enterprise businesses. And so they have over 3 million locations total. So I think this is, good when you think about all of those being multiple locations and being able to manage that at scale. it just makes sense, right? Like if you can scale something that is a very tedious task that it just, one human is now overseeing like thousands of transactions versus maybe 100 a day or a week, So yeah, I think this makes sense. It's a great, exciting thing for SOCi. We've known Monica over there, who's the CMO for a long time. And so, yeah, I'm excited for them to see how they'll scale and grow, because this is a large fundraising round. And we haven't heard about them fundraising in a while. And it's also kind of a time where not a lot of companies are getting funding. So I think this is interesting.
Yeah, I think, I agree with everything you said, right? And I think it is a large amount. And I think they've got like a great stable of clients, the 700 enterprise clients that you referred to. And I think, being able to then, take this capital, really grow their team, grow their focus on international markets or other, verticals that maybe they're not in right now, and then bring these sort of AI-driven products to market. I think, this is, the kind of fuel you need to, get really big, right? And I think, they seem to have the right team and the right mix and the right backers behind them to make it happen. So I'm excited to kind of watch and see where it goes. And yeah.
Stay tuned.
All right. On to our final story now. Sorry, I'm losing my voice again. Here we go. We're going to go over to Germany. And this time we're not talking about AI or ChatGPT, but we're going to talk about something we talked about recently, and that is analytics in the shopping cart business. So there's a German company called Cyreen, that's spelled Cyreen. And basically, they're based in Frankfurt, and they've developed some technology to tie in-store messaging impressions to individual shoppers through shopping carts. And so essentially, we've talked about these sort of smart shopping cart technologies, but through a chip that's kind of built into the shopping carts, as people are moving around, and sort of detecting what's in their carts or which aisles they're in, or what they might be looking at. There's digital signage in the stores, and then essentially these carts are triggering messaging and content on the screens that are related to what people want. So I think this is really interesting because one of the big topics that we've been following this year is this idea of retail media networks, and there's just tons of brands that have been announcing that they're getting into that space and opening up their own, media revenue business inside of a Kroger or a CVS or a, whatever, through digital signage platforms inside of their stores. But being able to then impact or change that content in real time based on shopping carts that are coming in proximity of those, I think is really interesting. So they did this test with a jam brand called Zentis, where they were advertising campaign was at the POS in the store, and they used their technology, and they said that they saw a conversion rate of the advertised product increase by 205% when the customer saw the advertisement in the store at least once. So I think that's pretty interesting. That's a pretty strong number to look to. And I could see a lot of these types of engagements in a number of different types of retail brands. But yeah, I think if you can take the smart analytics kind of technology in the shopping carts and tie that to digital signage or a retail media network, I think that to me has huge potential.
Yeah, I think this is great because a lot of times we're looking at how did they see digital media, maybe online, on their phone, on a CTV, and then what action did they take? And just due to like the pure data play and being able to match things deterministically with, the minimization of data that's available in terms of what's deterministic today because of a lot of privacy changes, and just, the scale that you have access to is difficult. So I think this to me is very much like it's anonymous, it's 100%. You get to see what's happening in real time, and then they get to optimize. So I love that they're doing it in that closed loop circuit and doing it inside the store and really quick. And then they're measuring the outcome. So I really like everything about this. Like, it's simple. It's not something that you think is like you're not trying to do it at a massive scale, like, oh, I'm trying to do this across all of my, online video advertising or social advertising. So for me, this is like, it is a lot of what CPG brands really want and need inside of those grocery stores. And I think you're right, like spot on in terms of the ability to tie this into some of the retail media networks that we've been seeing launch. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for something like this. It's simple, it's straightforward, and clearly it's working.
There you go. You heard it here on Location Weekly. This has been episode number 612. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. We really appreciate your time. If you have story ideas, reach out to us. If you've got people that we should be talking to, we want to know about that. Give us some likes, some love on whatever social channels you're consuming this or podcast channels you're getting this on. And we'll see you next week with another show. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.